everyone, my name is Sarah, and this video discusses SDG number 16, Peace, Justice, and Strong Institutions. This goal aims to promote peaceful, inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice, and build effective institutions at all levels. In every democratic society, compassion and strong morals are essential. But if there is persecution, injustice, and abuse, civilizations will split apart. This can result in conflict, insecurity, weak institutions, and limited access to justice. Every day, 100 civilians are killed because of conflict. But very slowly, the global homicide rate is decreasing. In 2015, 6.3 per 100,000 victims were lost due to homicide. By 2019, this went down to 5.8 per 100,000 victims. 2/3 of total homicide victims are centered in Sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean. Sadly, in 77 low-income and middle-income countries, 8 in 10 children from 1 to 14 years old suffered from aggression or physical punishment. The amount of refugees was at an all-time high in 2020. Thousands died trying to migrate somewhere else. Turkey hosted the most refugee population with 3.5 million people. 98% of those refugees were from Syria. Civil wars, droughts, and conflict have caused the most asylum seekers to come from Syria, Venezuela, Afghanistan, South Sudan, Myanmar, and Somalia. The current challenge is that there are too many refugees and asylum seekers and not enough solutions. The only solutions at this time are to send them back to their country when it's safe or being integrated into a host country. Poor countries host 1/3 of all refugees worldwide, while high-income countries only host 2.7 refugees out of 1,000. In 2018, there were 70 million people fleeing their countries because of war, persecution, and conflict. The United Nations said this is the highest in almost 70 years. Of the millions of refugees in 2018, only 92,400 were able to be resettled. That's less than 7%. Other startling facts include 60% of countries have prison overcrowding. 31% of global prisoners are held without being sentenced for a crime. This statistic has not changed since 2000. 127 of 195 countries have laws that make information available to the public. This is called the Freedom of Information Laws. For countries that don't have this law, COVID-19 and other health information can be difficult to be accessed by the public. On this map, countries in yellow do not have FOI laws. From 2010 to 2020, 1 in 4 children's births have never officially been recorded. In Sub-Saharan Africa, only 45% of births are registered. Journalists and human rights defenders are at risk when traveling to conflicted countries. In 2020, 331 human rights defenders were killed or disappeared. A few famous Japanese defenders include Goto Kenji, who died in 2015 by ISIS militants, and Nakamura Tetsu, a doctor that was killed in Afghanistan in 2019. The number of national human rights institutions in sub-Saharan Africa and Europe increased by 42%. There has been no progress to add more institutions in Latin America, Caribbean, Western and Eastern Asia, and Southeastern Asia since 2018. Have you ever felt more safe in Japan than other countries? The Institute for Economics and Peace ranked Japan as number 9 on the Global Peace Index and number 3 in the Asia-Pacific region. USA ranks number 121 and Afghanistan ranks last as the least peaceful country. It took a long time for Japan to become this way following World War II. Interestingly, how war is viewed in the USA and Japan are very different. In Hiroshima, there are many events, field trips, and museums for them to visit and learn about the effects of war. But the number of nationalist and far-right groups are increasing. They support a more active military and Japanese patriotism. In the US, all wars and conflicts are used to remember the bravery of the soldiers who fought and died. While Japan has many holidays to remember dead family members, the US has many holidays about veterans and military. Abe Shinzo, Japan's former prime minister, has said Japan doesn't want to use aggression and war to solve international disputes. Japan's International Peace Cooperation Headquarters make yearly contributions to struggling countries. Providing supplies is one of their main actions. Japan's injustice is controversial. The criminal justice system is actually well known in Western countries. For example, if you're arrested in Japan, you are guilty until proven innocent. This is the exact opposite of America's system, where you're innocent until proven guilty. Japan's conviction rate is 99%, since innocent people are treated much harsher during lengthy interrogations. Attorneys are not always assigned, and it's common to be held for 23 days without being charged for a crime. Awaiting trial can take months or sometimes years, depending on the case. It's especially difficult for foreigners who have been accused of a crime, even if it's not true. One example is this YouTube comment under a Japanese crime video. Her story claims that she was sued by her ex-boss, who made up multiple lies about her stealing money, harassed her, and stalked her apartment. Despite the photo and eyewitness proof of the lies and his stalking, the courts froze her bank account. After a year of this case, she was found innocent. According to the user, I was fighting the system, not the case. It is said that America's prisons are dangerous in terms of physical violence because of the gangs and hierarchies. But Japan's prisons are said to be dangerous for mental health. Many prisons have rules for how to walk, use the toilet, how to sit, and even placing items in your cell. There have been disagreements from the public about the refugee situation. Less than 1% of refugees and asylum seekers who applied in 2019 were accepted. Some refugees have been denied medical help and died while being held in the immigration center. In Nagasaki, a Nigerian migrant died in 2019 after a hunger strike. In 2021, Prime Minister Suga revised the Immigration Control and Refugee Recognition Act, and it's expected to pass. If a refugee's application is denied twice, they will be sent back to their home country despite the dangerous situations. This is condemned by the United Nations and human rights groups. The U.S. also has an issue with illegal immigration. It's estimated that there are around 11.4 million unauthorized immigrants in the U.S., but this number is difficult to know 100%. The 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump, became popular with many Americans for his anti-illegal immigration speeches such as Build the Wall.
We're going to build a wall. It's going to be built.
The U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, has an agency that protects the borders and public safety. Unfortunately, their tactics of detaining immigrants, mistaking U.S. citizens for illegal immigrants, and separating undocumented children from families have caused many protests in recent years. Discrimination based on race, gender, and sexual orientation can be found in Japanese society. This is discussed more in SDG 10. Sasebo was one of the victims of a large-scale air raid on June 28 and 29, 1945. 1,242 people died and 336 were injured. Since then, June 29th is Sasebo's Air Raid Memorial Day. The Uragashira Peace Park and Memorial Museum was built in 1986. This park commemorates the 1.4 million repatriates who landed there after the war from September through April of 1950. Repatriates are like refugees, but the ultimate goal is to send them back to their homeland. There are 4 main police stations: Sasebo, Haiki, Ainora, and Emukai Police Station. They have various posters throughout the city to promote safety. Crime is generally low. From April 2020 through April 2021, there were only 114 offenders, including car thefts, assault, and shoplifting. Sometimes there are campaigns to promote a crime-free community. Police officers, associations, government officials, the U.S. military, and others have participated. The Sasebo City Hall created the Crime Victim Support Center in 2018 to help families with injuries, loss of life, damage, and slander. Victims may be entitled to condolence money from the guilty party. There are many SDG 16 targets. These include reducing violence, protect children from abuse, ensure equal access, reduce illegal arms and corruption, ensure representation in decision-making, provide legal identities, strengthen national institutions, and promote non-discriminatory laws and policies. By fostering peace and inclusive societies, there would be reduced inequalities and help economies prosper. In fact, it is said that having strong institutions are a foundation for the other SDGs by building effective governments, provide rule of law, support economic growth, and reduce poverty. These are all needed for sustainable development.